Man,
Here we go.
Deion Sanders, phenomenal job. My reaction is this. Deion Sanders has the potential and ability now to shake up the landscape of college football.
Talk.
One, Deion Sanders leveraging his name, but also leveraging his ability and his relationships with Barstool, potentially, these are some of the rumors, to help land Travis Hunter, the #1 rated prospect by many recruiting sites, to help land him at Jackson State. Huge for Deion.
Speak on it.
My second thought, though, is the NIL made this possible. Bro, I don't think the NIL realized what they were doing, but what the NIL did was provide insurance to highly rated players who want to go to HBCUs. The risk that Travis Hunter is running by going to an HBCU is, well, my draft stock might diminish, right? Not because my talent will diminish, but the talent I'm going up against will currently diminish, so my draft stock might diminish. If my draft stock diminishes, I'll lose money. However, if, because of NIL, Travis Hunter can make 7 figures, then that's insurance. Because if your draft stock diminishes and you happen to lose some money because of your lack of draft status, well, you made some money on the front end that you might lose on the back end. So my instantaneous thoughts are, it's huge for Deion Sanders, huge for the landscape of college football, and it's also huge for HBCUs. Let's talk about HBCUs for a second.
Okay, I'm with you.
HBCUs emerged after the Civil War just to provide basic human rights to black people, because prior to the Civil War in southern states, black people, it was illegal for them to acquire an education. So HBCUs emerged 1850s, 1860s to provide basic human rights. So HBCUs are behind the 8 ball. HBCUs have to emerge because it's illegal for black people to get an education in southern states prior to the Civil War. That's the emergence. Problem, behind the 8 ball, because alumni base is bigger at PWIs, predominantly white institutions, therefore boosters are bigger and wealthier, because in America, you get money by having an education. #1 indicator of wealth is education. So if wealth is higher at PWIs, then boosters are richer, alumni base is larger, and football programs are better. How can you shake that up? Only way you can shake that up if somebody has the courage, Travis Hunter, to go to an HBCU, which doesn't have as large an alumni base, doesn't have as wealthy a booster base, but there has to be a first. Travis Hunter is the first, but it's risky, Travis Hunter, very risky, unless you have insurance. What is insurance? Insurance is NIL. Because Travis Hunter, there is no guarantee that you will get drafted out of Florida State, but there's a higher guarantee that you will be drafted. Because I know Jalen Ramsey, the highest paid cornerback in the National Football League, was a cornerback at Florida State. I don't know about a cornerback that's the highest paid out of Jackson State. I know about one out of Florida State. So there's a risk, Travis Hunter. But NIL, it gives you a more comfortable mattress to lay on. So my thought process, huge for Deion, huge for Hunter, huge for HBCUs. But it is risky, and I'll get to that later.
Okay, all right. I like what you said. Informative. I'm going to say something else.
Talk to me.
Say something different. I'm going to say what I initially felt when I heard this and started to do my deep dive into the transactions at play. The road to a HBCU is paved with good intentions. Here's the problem, though. And on that road, on that course, I'm wondering, is this really your choice, Travis Hunter, or is this your campaign, Travis Hunter? Let's talk about it. Why do I even question if it's his real, genuine choice versus is this something for others to rally behind as a campaign? Well, one, wherever you're going, there you are. And where you're going, Jackson State, is where Deion Sanders, the great, not only as a person, but as a coach so far out there. Only lost 4 games right now. Got him in the championship game in his second year. Deion Sanders is doing his thing. Has had other top recruits come there as well, converted from other Power 5 schools. Deion Sanders, he knows how much I love him and respect him. However, the road to a HBCU is paved with good intentions. Because Deion right now is still interviewing with other Power 5 schools to leave the same place that you're trying to arrive at. Isn't that interesting? Now, I know how the game goes. Go to the HBCU because why? I got to do it for my people. I got to do it to inspire others. Respect, yes, yes. However, The same guy who was there, who was championing that same campaign, is also interviewing with schools like TCU and others to leave that same place. So then we go back to your choice, Big Dog. Was it the best choice? Going to HBCU does not eliminate you from an NFL opportunity. I will argue it doesn't diminish your opportunity. You want to know why? I just seen too many come from there. Whether it's a Hugh Douglas, you go to Steve McNair, you could go to Donald Driver, you could just go Nick Collins, Ben Coates, Everson, like wherever you want to look, HBCU players have made an impact at the NFL level. Now, we get to what your choice is. Now, I was posed with a different set of issues when I made my choice. I had Power 5 opportunities. I love talking to you about this because you went to a Power 5. But I chose not to do something for others, but to do something for myself. And everyone told me the same thing. It's going to diminish your opportunities to make it to the NFL. Well, let's just say I got the best of both worlds. I got a tremendous academic reputation and experience, but more importantly, I still made it to the league. Here's the thing. His choice, sitting there, and we're going to watch the video of this, sitting there committed to 3 Power 5 schools, to all of a sudden knock those out the way to say, now I'm going to Jackson State. Was that really his authentic choice, or was that really for the smoke and the love from others?
That's good.
Tell me.
The answer, we don't know. We'll never know. That's a great question. I think it became his choice, but I think, Sel, like you went to Columbia to get your education, but also get to the league.
Yeah.
Right? You ended up doing both. Yeah. Travis Hunter might be going to an HBCU to change history, but also go to the league. Maybe also change history, education league. I don't know the order. I don't know the priorities, but I know this much. He can revolutionize a game, but be mindful.
You said he can or
he
can't?
Can.
Ooh.
He can, but be mindful. One player doesn't change the game, but one player is the beginning of the game being changed.
Okay.
Right?
Respect.
Deion Sanders is saying this could change the game. It could, but it could not. Right? One player, particularly a cornerback, isn't going to make Jackson State a top 25 program in the Power 5 next year. That's not necessarily going to happen off one player. Here's the thing. When it's time to get drafted, and this is my only worry for Travis Hunter, when it's time to get drafted, everybody's looking for reasons to pull you apart. Well, you didn't go to a big-time program. You heard that when you went to Columbia. Everybody hears that. Now, Travis Hunter, you're going to hear that. Who won the Biletnikoff? The award for best receiver in college football. Jordan Addison, if I'm not mistaken. Jordan Addison went to Pitt. Pitt's in the ACC. Where Travis Hunter was going to go to was Florida State in the ACC. You could have lined up against him, assuming he comes back, X, Y, and Z. You line up against him, you shut him down, all of a sudden, that helps solidify your status as a top pick. You're not lining up against any Biletnikoff award winners in Jackson State. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you are not helping your draft status.
Yeah, you're right.
Are you hurting it? I would submit so, because any additional question is a potential knock on draft status. Yeah. What was Josh Allen's knock? Didn't have size. He didn't have an arm. He went to Wyoming. Man, we ain't got to see him play against no big dogs. What was Carson Wentz's knock? It wasn't that he didn't have size. It wasn't that he didn't have an arm. It was, but Jared Goff went to Cal. Carson Wentz, he didn't go to a Power 5 program. Jared Goff goes number 1. Carson Wentz goes number 2. And we've seen how it's played out for both of them. So this will potentially hurt him, but the question is, on the front end, is he making up enough? So here's my question for you.
Let's go.
This is my discussion I've had for myself, but I couldn't wait to hear from you. My fear for Travis Hunter, are you sacrificing 7 figures for 8 figures? That's my fear. That's the question that I'm going to have, because I'm a forward-thinking individual. I don't know if some people want to have it. I know some people just want to rejoice on a day like today. Great for HBCUs, great for Deion, but I forecast.
Yeah.
Are you sacrificing 8 figures for 7 figures? Are you giving up what you want most for what you want now? Why do I say that? Once again, Jalen Ramsey went to Florida State, first-round pick, $100 million cornerback. Derwin James, he went to Florida State, first-round pick. He picked up his 5th-year option. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with him. He'll end up being one of the highest-paid safeties. I don't know too many first-round picks from Jackson State. I can name Jerry Rice. I can name Walter Payton. I can name Doug Williams. We can name Steve McNair. We can name Donald Driver. But I could also name everybody that got drafted.
Everybody else. The rest of the draft class.
Everybody else.
Exactly.
So my only concern, are we sacrificing 8 figures for 7 figures. It's going to play out. We're going to find out. Clearly, you can be drafted and potentially be drafted high from an HBCU. Yeah. But that's the only place I'm forecasting now is how can we make sure that Travis Hunter both gets his 7 figures now and his 8 figures later?
Oh, let me add a concern to that one and address that concern. If you're not doing it for yourself fully to the level that you need to genuinely, this is going to come back to haunt you. And the regret could be financially. The regret could be through experience. The regret could be any other way that you look at this situation differently later than you do right now. Let's talk about that. Is he a 4-year martyr going to Jackson State trying to do something that is greater for others? Or is this truly what he wants to stand on? You have that conversation when you want to pick your school. And if you have good parents, they sit you down and they give you their advice and then they stop. Because you know why? They always hit you with this line. Well, I'm not the one going to classes for you. So, baby, where you want to go is where you ultimately should go. Because I can't do the work for you. And it's interesting. He's going to a place where Deion Sanders is saying, hey, I done rose this from the ashes. Now it's time for me to go out there and get my cream. I find that a little interesting. I see the kid standing for something bigger than himself, and that's a great notion. However, what is that going to do for you in terms of all of that you are choosing in the Jackson State experience? We're going to find out. Let me leave you with this to answer what you were talking about and what I'm talking about. You got to do things for yourself and not for the opinion of others. I'm going to tell you why you have to do that. Because you learn that when you start taking care of people, when you have other people on your payroll or other people that look up to you for advice, etc. You start to learn the difference between, man, I'm looking out for you, and man, I got to do it for you. When you have that responsibility as a leader, you know what you do? You try to open up doors for them, correct? You try to remove hurdles in their path. But removing hurdles in people's path doesn't mean they run faster. And one thing I learned is opening doors for so many people is what? One, do they want to be in the room? And two, are they going to keep the door open and stay in the room? I look at this situation like, man, young man, you're going to open up the door for many others. It looks good. It sounds good. But have you asked yourself that question? Is it for you or is it for them? And do they even want the same opportunities that you're trying to offer them? Because if Deion is trying to go to a Power 5 school, then why did he just say, oh, I could go to a Power 5 school and still have the impact? That's my conversation right there. Something's not adding up in that rub. Doing it for them, not for me, but then it's going to help them. But then what's it going to do for me?
Can we be blunt, though? Let's be blunt. Let's be blunt. Let's be blunt. Let me get blunter. Half the time, 17 and 18-year-olds don't even know what's best for them. I'm going to tell them myself, not half the time, the majority of the time.
Okay, let's go.
True story. I am sitting in College Football Hall of Fame, Mac Brown's office. My brother's sitting there. My parents are sitting there. Mac is directly ahead of me. My dad's to my left. My mom is to the left of him. Mac Brown looks at me. So, Emmanuel, I want to offer you a scholarship, University of Texas. You commit? And I sit there, my dad, clenching my arm, waiting for me to say yes. Mom clenching my dad's arm, waiting for me to say yes. My brother's sitting there already committed to Texas. And I just look, because I'm like, I don't want to go here.
You don't want to go there?
I didn't want to go. I wanted to go to Michigan. I wanted to play in the Big House.
Oh!
I was like, I didn't want to go here. But my dad wanted me to go because my brother was there. It's 3 hours from the house. My parents wanted me to go. But I was like, I do not want to go here. Matt Brown looks at me. I say nothing. We wait 10 seconds. Awkward. Silence. He looks at me and says, well, obviously you're not ready to commit. Take some time, think about it. I leave his office. I get in the car with my parents, Sonny and Christy Acho. We get in the car, and we drive 3 hours back down. Silent. Just silent.
Yeah.
I felt the disappointment. They looking at me like, why would you not commit? I didn't want to do it, but still eventually I wised up and realized, wait, my brother's already there. If I go to Texas, we can do this Acho Brothers thing. My brother wore number 81. I decide to go to Texas, wear number 18, palindrome effect, 8118. And all of a sudden, because of that, both our names ended up being bigger, both in Texas, going to the NFL, and now bigger because my parents, my advisors, made a wiser decision than I was cognitive of making. Had I gone to the Big House, we wouldn't have gone to a national championship. Michigan didn't end up going to a national championship during my college career. There's no Acho, but there's no none of that.
Yeah.
So even if this isn't his full decision, if those that have his advisors are advising this young man like, hey, you can change the narrative. You can be the face, the notable figure of HBCUs. We have likes like Oprah went to an HBCU.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris went to an HBCU. But these are all people that are 50 plus. Michael Strahan went to an HBCU. Again, these are all cats that are 50 plus. If you can go be the new face, imagine what that can do for your branding going forward, like what Columbia did for you, for your life going forward, not from a branding perspective, from an educational perspective, but still.
Yeah, but to your initial points, that means you're not revolutionizing it. That means you're not changing history, like you said before. What you're doing is just putting your face on something that's already been done. So then that kind of really takes away from what you're saying you're doing, because you're not doing anything new. You're not reinventing the wheel. There have been players that have gone to HBCUs and balled the hell out, Hall of Famers. So now it's like, what are you really doing? So then, see, I'm that daddy. I'm like, what you really want to do? Now, don't tell me what you're telling everybody else, because who hasn't had that pep rally moment when the mic is on? Woo, everybody, and you're sitting there with your three hats. What he had? The Auburn hat, he had the Georgia hat, and Florida State. Yep. And it's amazing that he got poached from Florida State, and Deion went to Florida State because Deion knew where the body's buried. He's like, hey, man, you really want to do that? Let me tell you about 1980. You know what I'm saying? Point being, you go forward, and you say this, and I've been there before, and I've been his age before. I am going to get these hats out the way. Jackson State, unzip the jacket, put it on. Oh, woo. And everybody say, yeah. And you know what's the problem with doing that as a campaign? Now it's time to work. Now it's time to go through 4-year experience. Now it's time to put in all of that is necessary to get to where you got to go. And do you really want to be there? You committed somewhere else. I know they decommit all the time. But if you decommit and it's not because of your authentic reasons, but you're doing it for the greatness of others, and then those others don't necessarily need that from you, as Deion is like, no, I'm good. I'll be here for a minute, but maybe not for an hour. I just wonder where this young man is in terms of what he's thinking going forward. But good luck to you, big dog, and hopefully you got the NIL deal. I hope those rumors ain't true.